what's up, guys? I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It's July 10th, 2025. We are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Locals. I know you've tapped that subscription button already, but if you haven't, tap the button. You think that worked? I have a smart audience, though, so Jedi mind tricks might not work on them. We try it this way. Tap the button. Uh-oh, maybe they untapped it because I reversed it. We've got a RubinReport.locals.com community Q&A for you on the second half of today's show. And the first half is just a catch up on a whole bunch of crazy stuff because, yes, there's a lot of crazy stuff going. So let's just dive right in. I'm not even breaking it down for you. We're just jumping all over the place today. We are going to start with Bill Nye, the science guy. And I don't know that he actually is a science guy other than his name guy, I guess, rhymes with Nye, and he wears a bow tie and looks like a science dork. So they put him on all of these shows and he mostly gets things wrong. You may remember all of the COVID stuff he got wrong, or a video we played a couple times where he doesn't know the difference between boys and girls. The man seems very confused to me for a scientician. But he went on CNN with my favorite Dana Bash, and he basically blamed fossil fuels on this Texas flooding situation and said they were predictable. Unfortunately, he didn't predict it nor warn anybody, which is a little odd to me, but here you go.
So just that last part of what we were describing, you keep hearing once in a lifetime, once in 100 years, once in 1,000 years. At this point, it's not anymore. It's just where we are with the climate and the environment. Oh, that's, as we like to say, our side of it, the science side of it. This is exactly what was predicted. It's very difficult to tie any one weather event to climate change. However, the warm weather events are actually easier to tie to climate change. And so the other problem that happened in the hill country in Texas is this business of the Balcony escarpment, where the air mass got lifted. Mm-hmm. So it spread out and the rain came down even faster. But it'll happen again, to your point. And everybody's talked about this for years. What are we going to do about it is the ancient question, and it would be to stop burning fossil fuels. When you're in a hole, stop digging, and so on. But the fossil fuel industry has been very successful in getting organizations like the U.S. Congress to think that it's really not happening.
All right. I'm not happy with this guy, but I'm going to try to play the high road on this because he's just an actor, right? He's an actor. That's why he wears the bow tie and Bill Nye, the science guy, and all of that stuff. It's interesting because he's basically saying that they should have predicted this and they should have known about this. So why wasn't he on TV, I don't know, maybe a week ago doing that? Why wasn't he saying, boy, you guys shouldn't have these camps in this area that's in the flood zone because this could happen real quick? Because you can't predict it and you didn't know. And by the way, Dana Bash, your question was completely loaded and ridiculous too, because these storms have always happened and they will always happen. And as I keep saying, the best thing we can do is hopefully have competent people who are hired based on their expertise in positions so that when bad things do happen, which they will happen, that we can clean up and rescue and fix things as soon as possible. That really is the best thing that you can do. But the thing that he did there that was really dishonest, of course, is about fossil fuels. Because these people that are constantly telling us if we just cut fossil fuels, we could stop the ever-changing environment, the global warming that 15 years ago they told us was global cooling. What they seem to not realize is, okay, even if we here in the United States did all of the things you want us to do you know that there's other industrialized nations throughout the world that are a little behind us as it comes to energy, and places like India and China are still going to burn a shit ton of fossil fuels? Do you know that? And that fossil fuels right now are the thing that's keeping more people alive, right? If you're freezing in Europe in the winter and they cut fossil fuels, what do you think is going to happen? It's magically going to be made up by wind power? We have a bit from ChatGPT on the use of fossil fuels. Banning the use of fossil fuels outright in Western nations would likely lead to a cascade of serious negative consequences across economic, political, and social domains. And here's a breakdown of the outcomes. Energy shortages and grid instability. Intermittent renewables like solar and wind aren't yet capable of fully replacing fossil fuels without large-scale storage solutions. Sudden bans would likely lead to blackouts, brownouts, and energy rationing. There would be economic disruption. Fossil fuels power transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, and logistics. A ban would spike prices or shut down operations in key sectors. Global economic competitiveness. Western economies would become less competitive if rivals like China or India or oil-rich Gulf states continue using cheap fossil fuels. Transportation and infrastructure breakdown. Most planes, ships, and trucks still run on fossil fuels. Social unrest. A sudden fossil fuel ban would disproportionately hurt lower-income households. So the very same people who pretend to be for the poor, no, let's get rid of fossil fuels, and it's going to hurt them the most. So it's just a series of confusions. By the way, a series of confusions offered to you by the same people that told you for 3 years to trust the science when it came to walking into a restaurant while wearing a mask and taking it off when you sat down because that really made sense. One more from Bill Nye, the science guy with his bow tie. If he could start spinning the bow tie, I'd be more impressed. Here he is going after RFK because RFK is, I would say, a little skeptical when it comes to vaccines and perhaps if there is a connection to autism.
I know that you were receiving a lot of texts from the HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Trying to convince you the science of connecting autism to vaccines, which you can tell me about the science there, to the point where you had to block him?
Well, I mean, you guys, everybody, texts take up your phone time. He was relentless, page after page after page. So I just told him he's confused causation with correlation, the same old problem. Just because somebody got a vaccination and then somebody else got autism doesn't mean one caused the other. This is science. This is a long time. So that is, Mr. Kennedy's views have been debunked up and down.
No, they haven't. And you're right that, let's just show you the chart before I even do this. Watch. So here, this is a chart. This is California autism prevalence, cases per 10,000, 1985. And you can see cumulative mercury exposures through child vaccines in 19 to 35 month old surveyed, right? So as vaccines went up, the rate of autism went up. Now, he's right that isn't necessarily fully connected, but is it possibly connected? And why do we have so many people talking about it and questioning it and everything else? So the idea here that Bobby Kennedy is somehow the bad guy, the guy who's trying to get your French fries to be fried with less seed oils, which we know are carcinogenic, so that they could instead be fried in beef tallow, which is much healthier. The guy who at least is questioning, why is it that suddenly we escalated the vaccine schedule with kids, and once we did that, we saw autism rise? He's not saying there's an absolute connection, like that is fully it, but is it about mercury? Why are we injecting mercury into kids when it comes to these vaccines? Like, we're allowed to ask these questions, and the dismissiveness of it from the set of people who, again, lied about the vaccine, lied about mandates, lied about masks, et cetera, like we could do this all day long, is rather extraordinary. But as I said, we're jumping around on the show today, so now let's just move to something different, which is California Senator Alex Padilla. This is the man who you've seen crying recently. He tried to accost Kristi Noem at a press conference, and they arrested him, and then he went to cry in the Capitol. With Democrats that are always crying or just giving long talks without peeing, that's pretty much the sum totality of what they do. He now is trying to push for a bill to have ICE agents banned from wearing masks.
Why you felt it was so important to put forward this legislation?
Right. First of all, the importance and the urgency because of not just fear, Jen, but actual terror that people are feeling, not just in Los Angeles, but especially in Los Angeles, because that's clearly Donald Trump's target right now. And as you mentioned, the bill is actually pretty straightforward. No face coverings, no masks, with certain exemptions to that. A requirement for something identifiable on the body, right? What agency do you work for? Is it ICE? Is it somebody else? And in most instances, it would be a name.
Okay, so first off, buddy, when it comes to fear or terror, no one that's legally here in the United States should be feeling any fear or terror because they're not being taken away from ICE. If you're here illegally, you might feel a little fear or terror. That's the price you have to pay to illegally come into another country. If I went into, Joseph, name a country? France illegally, and I was just hanging out and smoking cigarettes and eating cheese and having croissants, I would feel a little fear that one day the French wouldn't. They would just do jack shit about it. They're being taken over by the Islamists anyway. Well, I would be afraid of the Islamists. So you see, the point is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stop doing the bad stuff. But Padilla, it's just a complete confusion. Now, look, if I will even grant him a little bit. I know giving these people an inch doesn't do anything, but if the ICE agents have no identifiable anything on them anywhere, I would view that as a problem. Meaning, if you're an ICE agent, I have no problem with the mask. We've talked about this before. For doxing purposes, we don't want people going after their families and everything else, especially as the left has become more very obviously for violence and everything else. Should they have some identifiable tag on them that either says ICE, which I suspect they do, and we usually see, or could there at least be a number, right? So the number doesn't have to necessarily be associated with a public name, but it could at least be on an internal thing. If they're not doing something like that, which I suspect they are, I could go for it on that. However, Padilla, Mr. Tears, you're always crying. I think those are crocodile tears because what you people have no problem with when it comes to masks are things like, yeah, that. Remember that? That was in Los Angeles. No, that is not in Mad Max Fury Road. That is in Los Angeles. That guy seems like a far greater threat to me, standing on top of the burnt electronic car with the flame in the background, the flag of another country, the skeleton mask. Yeah, I think that's a bigger problem. But for some reason, you don't want to unmask those people. So I'm just not, I'll give you an inch, but that's about it. Here's a leftist in San Diego actually trying to rip a mask off an ICE agent.
You stood there like an idiot, not replying, and the moment I did something,
Okay, so she ripped the mask off him. I don't know what the fallout is from that. I'd like to find out. But you arrest that bitch. You throw her in jail, and that's it. You can't touch these people. You can't grab their masks off. Now that guy could be doxxed and everything else, and you just can't, right? You can't do that to a police officer. You can't do it to an ICE agent. You can't do it to a judge. That's how it is. But again, the left has no rules, and they've been proven right in some sense. Because whenever they're taking over streets or they're taking over campuses or whatever they're doing, they're always encroaching, right? And they get in police officers' face and they do push through them and they do throw things at them and throw firecrackers and all of these things. And in blue cities, they basically get away with it. They can do that. You can't do it in most red states. You certainly can't do it here in the free state of Florida. But they're just pushing the limits to see how far those limits get pushed. And the left, because the left never knows when the left goes too far, they will just keep going down that endless road to hell. Anyway, Donald Trump was asked about potentially what it would look like if there was a bill passed that would make ICE agents unmasked. And I thought his answer was quite good.
Two Democratic senators now, Cory Booker and Alex Padilla, have a new bill out. They want to require CBP and ICE officers to have legible IDs, and they don't want CBP or ICE officers covering their faces. Would you ever sign that?
Well, they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't hate our country, and they obviously do. I'm surprised that they would do it. Knowing a little bit about them, I don't know them well, but these officers are doing a tremendous job. They're great patriots. If you expose them because of statements like have been made by Democrats and others on the left, usually, mostly, I think probably exclusively. You put them in great danger, tremendous danger. And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on, more than masks. I mean, you can't see anything. Nobody complains about that. But when a patriot who works for ICE or Border Patrol puts a mask on so that they won't recognize him and his family, so they can lead a little bit of a normal life after having worked so hard and so dangerously, there's a problem with it.
Yes, yes, and yes. That is completely right. He points out the hypocrisy of the left. He points out why these people, the ICE agents, are doing it. It's not to protect themselves, it's to protect their families. He points out that the left has become radical and instigated violence. So why wouldn't they dox them? Why wouldn't they go after their families and everything else? Why does the left and the Democrats, why do they never want the Hamas people, some of whom wear fake suicide vests, which we've seen, and I assure you they will be real suicide vests at some point, and everything else. And they walk out there with just a sliver of their eyes, even putting aside the potential violence and all the rest of it. How long can a society work when there's a set of people that just wander around and take over buildings and take over streets and everything else, and all you can see is their eyes? How long does that hold in a society? Right, if there is no social cohesion? Well, that's, I suppose we are going to find out the answer. But of course, Trump was absolutely right about that. This is great too. And this really is, when we talk about the Trump effect, that Trump has just changed things. And when he came in and changed things, then that scales to other people. Other people start getting braver. Other systems that were breaking down start fixing themselves. So look at this. This is the Border Patrol chief. And obviously, they've got these ICE agents and border agents in LA right now trying to fix up the mess that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass created. And here he is going after Karen Bass and reminding her who he actually works for.
The federal government is not leaving LA. I don't work for Karen Bass. The federal government doesn't work for Karen Bass. We're going to be here till that mission's accomplished, as I said. And better get used to us now, because this is going to be normal very soon.
Yeah, and thank God. Right? Like, again, Trump was elected on this, ran on this, told us what he was going to do, gave them ample time to fix it themselves. And yeah, the head of Border Patrol does not work for Karen Bass. He works for Donald Trump. He works for we the people, right? And they're not going to go anywhere. So she can cry all she wants. She can scream all she wants. They can feel that people are terrified. And what did he say? Terrified and something like, okay, fine, be terrified then. But you shouldn't be terrified if you're not here illegally, because they're not going to do anything to you. So it is what it is. And actually now we are seeing, because we've closed the border, we've started to kick people out. There's always this concern with Democrats. Well, no one's going to do the jobs, even though they're all going to be replaced by robots anyway, but nobody's going to do all the crappy jobs. Well, check out these numbers from Fox.
Gains since the start of President Trump's second term, increasing by over 2 million jobs, while the number of foreign-born workers has declined by more than 540,000.
Okay, so that's something. That's a start. Foreign-born people. So the implication there is that many of them are illegal, are now down around 540,000 jobs, while native-born people have suddenly got 2 million jobs. Now, that may not, causation and causality, right? Like, it may not be fully correlated, right? But like, you can see the seeds of something. If less people are allowed to be here illegally and do some of those jobs, then people might come in and start doing those jobs. And I think we have now some evidence of that. Let's jump to something else altogether, because there is a new Superman movie coming out, and there is an interview. So to me, the Superman movies, all the DC movies suck, except for the Christopher Nolan Batmans. DC just has butchered everything. Affleck as Batman in Justice League and Wonder Woman. The first one was all right. Second one sucked. Like, they just can't get it right the way Marvel's got it right, even though I'm personally kind of over all that stuff too. But anyway, there's a new Superman movie coming out. The trailer actually looked pretty good. Came out a couple months ago, and now I think it's coming out next week, right? Is that right? Do we know the date on that? When it's coming out? I think next week. Anyway, it's making the rounds now. They've been doing the red carpets and all that. And here is director Sean Gunn. And watch how the last thing that any of us want, my hope would be, even though I'm not a DC guy, I don't really care about Superman, my hope would be that we could create good art again, that we could get the woke stuff out, we could stop politicizing everything, right? When you politicize art, it's in essence, or when you make it for a purposeful agenda, it's the death of art, right? Art is supposed to make you think and make you feel something, not aim you towards something, right? And here is Sean Gunn, the director of Superman movie, explaining what the movie's all about.
It is exactly what the movie is about, I think, that like we support our people, we love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American.
James has said that Superman is an immigrant story, that it is political. MAGA today was getting a little upset that he called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
Somebody needs a hug. It's just a movie, guys. It's just a movie.
Sean is the brother. Okay, so to be clear, the first guy you saw there was Sean Gunn, who is the brother of James Gunn, but he was basically reiterating what James Gunn was saying, that this thing is political, he's an immigrant, blah, blah. It's like, no, that may be the story that you guys laid out there, but just nobody wants to hear that the way these guys are saying it now, that we're all immigrants and all this stuff. It's like, this is counter to everything. Can't you? And they're going to pay the price. You know what this reminds me of? Here's my prediction on this one. You remember I know you loved it, Connor, but most of America did not. The 2016 all-female Ghostbusters. You loved that movie, didn't you? I have a feeling it's going to go down that route. Like, you just can't. It's like when they make a Star Wars movie and then they tell the base that they're racist if they don't like the character who happens to be black. You guys are just going in early, making it about politics, and you're just putting stank on it before anyone gets there. It comes out tomorrow, by the way, so we shall see. I will not be seeing that. Although in September, I am very excited to return to the movie theater for the final Downton Abbey movie. The last two, I don't even go to the movies. Does anyone go to the movie theater anymore? Do they have movies even? Last 2 times I've been to the theater, twice in like 7 years, been to the Downton Abbey movies, and that's it. And then I'm just never going to the movies again. Anywho, over in California, there is an evil snake person. You know who I'm talking about, Gavin Newsom, and he's going to run for president. It is obvious, no matter how many times he's exposed, no matter how many times he shamelessly lies, no matter how many times it's obvious that he is nothing other than a skin sack of pure evil. He just keeps getting out there over and over again. And look at this. Here he is. In South Carolina, he's making the rounds, people, as if he hasn't destroyed California enough. Now the people, the good, decent people of South Carolina want this guy, and he's just making the rounds. He's laying the groundwork. We've got one more from Kevin Dalton, who ran actually for governor of California a couple of years back. His question was, who is paying for Gavin Newsom's campaign stop in South Carolina? And it's all just so, it's so funny because you look at that image. When Donald Trump showed it up to McDonald's, there was something oddly authentic about it. Like, there was a feeling that Donald Trump actually would like doing a job like that, or that he could be a manager of McDonald's, or that there's something about the kitschiness around Trump where it fit. Where you see Gavin Newsom, how much is he worth? And the winery and everything, like, he's got to be worth 50 mil. And just everything about him reads as so fake that he could ever be a barista for even 10 seconds. Anyway, here he is in one of his performative little town hall things.
Image of, in relation to what Trump, where he is, but that's a whole other conversation. So I know that's tough, and I want to just end on this because it's serious, because what Lindsay did to you is pretty extraordinary. What he did to this community is pretty extraordinary. What he did to this country is just outrageous. And I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight this. That bill they just signed.
Oh, what Lindsay did to you. The big, beautiful bill they're talking about, of course. And look, my position on the bill, I've told you many times, I like all the tax cuts. I like building the wall. I like doing the deportations. I'm also ideologically largely in line with what Elon said, which is you don't want to blow up the deficit at the same exact time. So we'll see where it falls. But that he goes to another state and tells them that it's the most evil thing, and they're, oh yes, and it's Lindsay's fault, and God, gross. Don't let him out. Can't we build a wall around California to keep them in? I would sacrifice the southern wall with Mexico if we could just build a wall around California to keep them in. That is my proposal. Someone put that on paper. Let's talk about ultimate spike detox, and then we'll catch up on a couple other things. Still feeling off since COVID? You're not alone, guys. A new study in the Journal of Clinical Laboratory Analysis found that even months after recovery, many people's platelets, key for blood clotting, weren't working properly. Other research shows lingering spike proteins in the body can disrupt the immune system and damage cells, whether from the virus or the mRNA shots. That's why Dr. Peter McCullough created Ultimate Spike Detox, a doctor-formulated blend with nattokinase to help you break down spike proteins, bromelain to support your immune system, and turmeric with black pepper to fight inflammation and promote healing. Take back control of your health today. Go to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin for 15% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/Rubin, code Rubin for 15% off. It's your health. Take charge. Okay, so this one is super interesting. We've got another one about a man of science, or at least who proclaims to be a man of science, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who is Joe Biden's doctor, or at least was Joe Biden's doctor, was hauled in front of a hearing yesterday to be asked about whether he was lying when it came to Biden's health, or was told to lie, or is completely negligent, or is part of a conspiracy, or is a complete effing moron, etc., etc. And here he is with some very clear and clean answers. Like basically, are you a doctor and did you know anything about Joe Biden being sick? And as you can imagine, here's what he came up with.
Dr. O'Connor, were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician-patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer. I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
Seems like a pretty simple question. Did you lie about the AutoPenn's health? Yes or no? O'Connor pleaded the Fifth 14 times in 20 minutes.
I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
All right, so let me try to do this as cleanly as possible. Do you have a right to privacy, and is there a special relationship between a doctor and a patient? Obviously. So I'm not saying this guy should be up there revealing information that should not, that are, private medical records. And by the way, to the backdrop of that, you could argue that the president shouldn't have private medical records, something like that. But the fact that he had to plead the Fifth, were you told to lie? Were you told to lie? And he couldn't just say no. Like, there is an extraordinary scandal here. And I know, guys, that no one ever pays the price, right? Or the people that are supposed to pay the price never pay the price. The Faucis walk, all of the people who do all the horrible things walk. Somebody's got to pay some sort of price here. I don't like the idea of jailing people from former administrations, because once you start going down that route, you end up in some kind of banana republic situation, because they'll always find a way to pin it on the next administration, and then you'll never get anyone good in government. So I understand the danger of that. But we do not know who the president of the United States was, and that his doctor, this has nothing to do with the medical records, right? They didn't say to him, when did you know that Joe Biden had this or that or anything? The question was, were you told to lie? And he had to plead the Fifth on that. And I get it, the way lawyers operate. Like, this guy's got a lawyer and he's just taken the advice from his lawyer, right? So, and that's why everyone hates lawyers. But maybe, Doc, maybe the better thing would have been to have just told, you know what? Actually, I was told to lie. And you know what? Then they can extrapolate from that you probably have to lose your medical license because you were lying about the president of the United States health. And it would have opened up a can of worms that would have taken out all of these people. But I don't think this story is done. I don't think it's going anywhere. And actually, watch this. This is a Wall Street Journal reporter by the name of Josh Dawsey, talking about how it's starting to break, like the level that we all knew. Again, this is exactly the same thing as COVID. It's the same thing as very fine people. It's the same as all of the Russia. For some reason, we all saw this, they hit it, but it's starting to break how absolutely insulated and inoculated from reality they kept Joe Biden.
I think the insularity and the warped sort of information that Biden was getting from his top advisors, particularly after the debate. Insularity? Insularity, how they were keeping information from him, how people who had the truth could not even get to him, could not reach him on the phone, how his pollsters repeatedly wanted to meet with him, were blocked from meeting from him, how his top aides, Steve Ricchetti and Mike Donnellan, gave him things that were not necessarily consistent with what others viewed as reality, and how a lot of his even long-term friends, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, could not reach him in those period of time. What if his aides on the campaign, fundraisers called and said, we're not getting any more money? They saw the polling. They had members of Congress, senators, calling them and saying, we're going to lose every state. We're going to lose majorities in both parties. He has to get off the ticket. And they would not take the information to him. They would not, his top people would not share it with him.
So again, I know none of that comes, you're not watching that going, my God, I can't believe any of this, right? Because we're ahead of the curve here. And sometimes you're so ahead of the curve that you end up being behind the curve in some sense. But the fact that this is now all breaking, that it was all the bills were signed with the auto pen. That this, and by the way, that's very consistent. Remember that video we showed you a couple times where Mike Johnson talks about how he repeatedly for like 6 months as leader of the House was trying to get a meeting with the president. And they kept pushing him off, et cetera, et cetera. And then he finally shows up at the Oval Office, and the way that they wouldn't even let him get to the president, they were pushing him away and everything else, and that Biden didn't know what he had just signed. Like, this is all now out there. And there are going to be more emails, there are going to be more records. I don't know what you do in the case of the doctor. Like, the doctor, my guess was did they sit him down and say lie? I don't know, right? I don't know. Is there some record maybe of something? Could there be an email where he sent an email to somebody saying, actually, Joe Biden does have cancer or does have this cognitive issue or Parkinson's or whatever, and they were basically like, all right, maybe they don't even respond. Like, you just don't know the litany of things that might have happened there. But it seems to me there is enough here, and this is so important to deal with. We did not know who the president was for 4 years, and the entire machine pushed a completely fraudulent hoax on us. We've got to get to something with it. So we shall see what happens. And now, again, we're sort of all over the place today, but let's jump to the lady that then caused a soft coup. Because after that debate where he broke down, the airlock was broken, they didn't know what to do. They brought in Kamala. They did it all behind the scenes, even though Chuck and Nancy and everybody else told us it was the people that chose Kamala. No, it wasn't. They basically threatened Biden with the 25th Amendment. We know that now, too. That's the only reason he stepped down, and whether he even knew exactly what was happening is very unclear. But anyway, they try to install Kamala, and she was obviously a disaster. And check this out. I mean, you remember that at first they hid her, right? And then that wasn't working, so then they put her out there, and then that didn't work either. It was the doom cycle spiral around her. But this is wild. So there's a guy by the name of Kareem Rahma, and he does a show called SubwayTakes, and this is where they just interview people to just get hot takes on anything. Like, it's dumb. It's like brain rot stuff. Just give me your hot take on any idiotic thing that's happening in the world. Just say something. And it was so bad with Kamala Harris while she was running for president that they couldn't air it. Take a look.
Emailed me.
They emailed, like, an email from the
DNC.
Okay.
And they said, hey, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are really interested in being on your show. I said, that sounds cool.
Okay.
I'll at least get to tell my daughter that I met the potential president of the United States.
Yeah.
And so I said yes, based on the fact that it would be a good story. And also they both had good takes.
What happened with Kamala?
Her take was really confusing and weird and not good. And so mutually agreed that we shouldn't publish it.
I see.
And I got lucky because I didn't want to be blamed for her losing.
Her take was that bad?
It was really, really bad, and it was like didn't make any sense. I can tell you, it was bacon as a spice.
Yeah,
bacon as a spice.
So do you get what that is? Hot take. So it's literally anything. It's what's your favorite spice? And she said that bacon was a spice. Bacon is a meat. Ask Homer Simpson. Do you know that bacon and pork and ribs and all that come from the same magical animal? That's what Homer Simpson said in episode 6. How could that season 6? How could that possibly be? When Lisa becomes a vegetarian, you remember the episode. Might be the best episode of The Simpsons ever. But that is the level of control they had over this thing. And, I don't know that guy. I've never watched the show. But he had something that he could have aired, and he didn't. That's on him as to whether he should or shouldn't. I guess he feels fine with his decision, so be it. But do you realize, like, the level? It wasn't that they hid the guy with dementia and the soft coup and everything else. Then they put this lady out, and she can't even do that. On top of, the $1 million they paid to Oprah for a softball interview, et cetera, et cetera. But this is where the Democrat Party is at. It is a series of either brain-broken people, literally in Joe Biden's case, or completely inauthentic people in the case of Kamala Harris, or now full-on communists. And they have a big headache on their hands because they don't know which way to go. Listen to this from Fox News. Mamdani's far-left allies aim to primary Hakeem Jeffries and other New York City House Democrats. Mamdani's win appears to energize a socialist push against top New York City House Democrats. So congratulations, Democrats. You idiots did not know when to say enough is enough. You let The inmates run the institution. The crazies are here. They're no longer calling themselves Democrat socialists. Now they're full-on socialists. They'll only be socialists for so much longer. Then they will be communists and Marxists. That's what they are. Some of them are no longer denying it. Then they will not be for elections when they have power, and they will have government control over everything if you allow it to happen. And at that point, I will fully be for Florida secession. Here is Timu Obama being asked about Mamdani trying to primary people like him.
Leader Jeffries, I also want to talk to you about Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City. CNN has new reporting that some progressives who empowered Mamdani to victory now want to primary you and other Democrats in New York City. How do you respond?
I have no idea what these people are talking about. We are going to continue to focus our efforts as we did on the House floor in connection with Donald Trump's one big ugly bill on pushing back against the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people. It's clear to us as House Democrats, it's clear to us as members of the New York City delegation that the problem is Donald Trump and House Republicans who have launched this unprecedented assault on the American way of life, an assault on health care. They're ripping food out of the mouths of children, veterans, and seniors.
Hey, Timu Obama, I got a little spoiler alert for you, man. You are toast. It doesn't mean that it happens your next election cycle, but it's happening, and it's going to happen sooner than you think. Wolf Blitzer said to you, the crazies in your party are coming for you. And your answer was, I don't know what that's about. I'm going to talk about Donald Trump. And this is exactly what's wrong with the left. You guys have no ability to moderate or deal with or directly confront your lunatics. So your lunatics are hacking away at your Achilles heel, right? They're just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And you're over there pointing at Donald Trump, and they're going to take you out, and very few people come back from the Achilles blowout. Although I think, what's his name did it? Kevin Durant. I think he did it, and I think Dominique Wilkins did it, but very few others do. Let's jump over to CNN, where Scott Jennings is still trying to explain very simple things to people who are not particularly bright.
What I'm saying is most people do believe that there should be a basic ability to go to a hospital and get some care.
I agree, but I think most people also believe that people should not be able to sit and do nothing and receive government benefits, or be in the country illegally and receive government benefits. An attempt to work is a good thing, and the Republican ethos is encouraging work. The Democratic ethos is encouraging government dependence.
I'm not.
You say Republicans should lean in, but most of these Medicaid cuts don't come until after the midterms. Why is that?
Well, I mean, states run the Medicaid program. I do think it's reasonable to give them time to prepare to enact changes to the program. But it doesn't matter, because Democrats are obviously going to go all in on this hysteria campaign. So if you're running a Republican campaign out there, you're going to have to debate the issue. And I'm telling you as a debating point, if Democrats want to run on giving Medicaid to illegal aliens and people who won't work or choose not to work, Republicans have a counter message that will work if they are willing to courageously defend it.
Yes, that's exactly right. Courageously defend it. Like, have we learned anything over the last couple of years? The guy he's talking to right there, of course, is Alex Thompson. He's the one who wrote the fictitious, well, not fictitious, he's the one that co-authored the book with Jake Tapper about the thing we all knew about that they pretended wasn't happening, that then, because they got on CNN, became a New York Times bestseller, because that list is made up too, because you guys are all doing your little thing there. The woman that started the thing, most people believe that you should get basic blah, 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 and be able to go to the hospital. Yes, you can, actually. Now, it is expensive, but no one is turned away if they show up at the hospital. And then, of course, as Scott lays out, saying that illegals shouldn't be on Medicaid and saying that people should have minimum work requirements, or at least be trying to get a job if they're able to, is not asking too much. We showed you the video earlier in the week. Radical right-wing maniac Bill Clinton was for that in 1992 when he was president, and all Democrats have been for it. And all we're asking for people is be legal And twice a year, could you check in and tell us what you're doing? Would that be such a big deal? One woman who apparently will be out of a job for a little bit is Linda Yaccarino, who took over X about 2 years ago when Elon bought it. Remember, he was running it for those first couple months, and then he handed it over to Linda Yaccarino, which was somewhat controversial because she came from the more mainstream media perspective, and she was working, I think, at NBC Universal before that. Anyway, I think she's done a really nice job, obviously, over the last 2 years at Twitter, but then or at X. But yesterday, seemingly out of nowhere, she stepped down. Listen to this. After 2 incredible years, I've decided to step down as CEO of X. When Elon Musk and I first spoke of his vision for X, I knew it would be the opportunity of a lifetime to carry out the extraordinary mission of this company. I'm immensely grateful to him for entrusting me with the responsibility of protecting free speech, turning the company around, and transforming X into the everything app. I'm incredibly proud of the X team. The historic business turnaround we've accomplished together has been nothing short of remarkable. We started working with the critical early work necessary to prioritize the safety of our users, especially children, and restore advertiser confidence. This team has worked relentlessly from groundbreaking innovations like Community Notes and soon X Money to bringing the most iconic voices and content to the platform. Now the best is yet to come as X enters a new chapter with XAI. X is truly a digital town square for all voices and the world's most powerful culture signal. We couldn't have achieved that without the support of our users, business partners, and the most innovative team in the world. I'll be cheering you all on as you continue to change the world. As always, I'll see you on X. So this is really interesting. Look, I know Linda a bit. I have no insight any further than anything that she put up publicly right there. But it's super interesting because well, first off, X just released a new Grok 4 today, which is their AI thing. We'll have Elon talking about that in just a second. But over the last couple of days, Grok, the older version of Grok, had seemingly gone a little bizarre and was offering some praise to Hitler and was giving really weird answers on things. I've been using Grok a little bit even to track my macros, and it was kind of giving me some weird answers. So there was some weird stuff going on there. But as they're just dropping Grok 4 to have the CEO step away, and maybe it has something to do with the Trump-Elon fight, maybe there's something going on the advertising side, but I would broadly say Linda did a great job there. I think she's a really competent executive, and she's gonna do great things going forward. Here's Elon talking about the new Grok 4, so this is the XAI, which was released last night.
I mean, at least with respect to academic questions, I want to just emphasize this point. With respect to academic questions, Grok 4 is better than PhD level in every subject, no exceptions. Now, this doesn't mean that at times it may lack common sense, and it has not yet invented new technologies or discovered new physics, but that is just a matter of time. Mm-hmm. So that's anything you guys want to say? Other than that, I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's a good model, sir.
Good model. It's a good,
yeah. Well, we're very excited for you guys to try Grok 4. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
It's something kind of funny. We left that end there, which was a little awkward purposely, because it's like he's around just these. They say they're all like these autistic weirdos, but they really care about what they're doing, and they are trying to build out seemingly competent, good AI. He's promising an awful lot there that it's going to, be able to accomplish an awful lot. One of the problems with Grok is that it's also attaining information from the interactions on X, and the interactions on X we know are manipulated by other governments and bots and the trolls and all of those things. So they have a lot to figure out. But at the end of the day, most people realize AI is coming whether you like it or not. So you better get on board. It just is. Like, that's just kind of a mutable thing at this point. But Whoopi doesn't like it, and we haven't shown you a clip of Whoopi in a while. So here's Whoopi on AI.
Now, I don't like AI. Personally, I know you do, but it's not a thing for me. I don't like it. I prefer, I had to deal with Alexa. I was like, I don't want her. I don't want her. And so when she came out, I don't use her.
Well, they listen to what you're saying, too.
Well, she has to be present in order to listen.
Right.
Yeah, well, I hate to tell you, Whoopi, you probably have a phone in your pocket, and that might be listening to you too, right? When you mention some random thing, and next thing you know, on Instagram, you're getting an ad for that exact thing, et cetera, et cetera. So look, my feelings on all of this. Like, I'm very bullish on the future and AI and technology, and the robots are coming and all these things. But I'm also a sci-fi guy, and we should walk into these things carefully, and we have to hope that, it's like a guy like Mark Zuckerberg is going to take us through one version of AI and try to grab us into the metaverse. And it's like, look at all the bad things that Facebook did as it pertained to free speech and COVID and the Biden laptop and all of those things. And then you have Elon, who I think is a much better person, but are there flaws in perhaps their modeling because they're doing it off of interactions on X, which is completely psychotic? Yeah, so I would just say the future is a-coming, and let's be at least a little cautious as we get there. Before we get into a couple questions, and we got to go a little fast today, I do want to bring up our poll. We've been doing the poll at the new Dave Rubin Report newsletter, daverubin.com/newsletter, totally free to jump on there. And we've been polling people on the top Trump administration officials, and these are the numbers right now. We have Marco Rubio charting in at number 1, Scott Bessent number 2 there. It looks like Tom Homan number 3, or Tom Homan and RFK are exactly tied there. And you can see this is just a confident, competent group of people. So if you want to join us and you let us know what you think, it's daverubin.com/newsletter. Let's talk about Rumble Premium real quick, and then we'll get to some locals community questions. Free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices no matter how unpopular, and now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs. But we're not here to fit a mold, we're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than a subscription, it's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off the annual plan using promo code Rubin. Visit rumble.com/premium/Rubin and claim your discount today. Whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching, your support helps keep free speech alive. Okay, couple community questions for you good people. Nimbus says, hey Dave, do you think Trump will fire Pam Bondi? So obviously we covered it yesterday, last couple of days. There is definite, how would you say, not confusion. I would say there's definite controversy around Attorney General Pam Bondi right now. She tried to clean it up with Trump the other day when she was talking about what she meant when she said she had the Epstein files on her desk. There's some confusion as to whether she meant that she saw that the files actually had video of potentially world leaders, big-time actors, whatever it is, having sex with kids. Now she's saying it was just meaning it was Epstein's child porn. The line about the desk, what's the file on the desk and what it meant to have the file, I think is she's going to pay a price for that. My gut feeling is that Trump is not going to fire her, actually. Again, it's because I don't know any more about this than you guys do. All I can do is take in the information the same way you are and try to tell you what I think, right? Like, it's as simple as that. And if right now, if the argument is there is some grand conspiracy here that now Donald Trump is in on, and Bongino's in on, and Cash and Pam Bondi, like, okay, fine. I can understand. I actually fully can understand why somebody would believe that. But unless you offer me some proof on that, like, I don't think all of these people flip. Donald Trump suddenly flipped. Like, that just seems crazy to me. So I don't sense she's going to be fired because of this. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. Sometimes these things start just taking a shape of their own. Kuura says, Dave, what's your favorite bit in stand-up you ever came up with? What are your favorite bits from other comedians? My favorite bit I ever came up with, I used to do this great joke about The Sopranos. That was my closer, which I've done in some of the shows that we do now. But I used to do a bit about the Transformers, and that there was a black Transformer because Jazz used to kind of talk in Ebonics. And believe it or not, back in the day, this is late 90s, early 2000s, I would do an impression of a black Transformer, and I used to say the N-word. I did. Yeah. not to be mean, not to be racist, I was doing an impression of an Autobot talking to Decepticons using Ebonics. And by the way, black audiences absolutely loved it. And I remember I was on stage at Gotham Comedy Club. This has got to be about 2004, 2005. I had done this bit. It was like a 10-minute bit. I had done this bit about the Transformers for about 6 years or something. And I remember there was this table, and now in retrospect, like I can picture them, and they were all kind of these wafy leftist whatever, and they started booing me and screaming and saying it's racist, and I just put the joke down. I've never said the joke. It's on tapes. We've got old, can you see some of the tapes on the side camera there? Yeah, on some of those tapes, that joke is there. Maybe I should release it anyway, cancel myself, you know? And then as far as stand-up bits that I love, I mean, the one that I always go back to, and I didn't know he was a giant serial rapist at the time, Bill Cosby himself, 1983. I think it's the best stand-up special ever. Jeffrey says, other than pre-Disney Star Wars, do you have any other favorite series of movies? Series of movies? I fell asleep to all of the Dunes. Well, Matrix, they get worse as you go on, because one is good, one is amazing, 2 is good, 3 is meh, the 4th one was pretty crappy. What do you got? Oh, Lord. Well, Connor loves these little people with the hairy feet, so I'll throw him the bone on that one. Marcus says, now that we know how not to trust the experts after all the COVID lies, do you find yourself more skeptical regarding health advice you see online? Absolutely. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately, and everyone in here is on a big health kick right now. By the way, I got this Oura ring, so I've swapped out my wedding ring, actually, for the Oura ring right now, and I'm tracking all my macros and calories and all that stuff. Lowest weight right now since I think 2015. I'm feeling pretty good. But you know, if you go on Instagram, all you see all day long is this, you know, it's just somebody gets up there and they're doing a podcast, of course, and this study says this, and this says this, and eat this, don't eat that. And back in the day, it was don't eat the yolks of the eggs, and then it was don't eat the white of the eggs, and then it's this. We're just slammed with so much shit. Like, my general philosophy, I'm not giving anybody health advice on anything. I know that the carnivore thing has largely worked for me, just basically eating real meat, organic, grass-fed when possible, eating organic vegetables and fruits, and I basically don't eat sugar, and I've largely cut out carbs altogether. That's worked for me, and I think your body can talk to you. So I would say the best answer to that is yes, be skeptical of all of these people that have all of the quick, easy answers on everything, and kind of see how your body feels about things and go from there. Let's take a quick break. 1775 Coffee, finish up with a couple other questions. You know that feeling when your coffee actually does what it's supposed to do? It clears your head and lifts your energy. That's what good coffee is supposed to feel like, and that's what you get with 1775 Coffee. Their coffee's organic, single origin, high altitude, and small batch roasted. That means no toxins, no acidity, and no jitters. Just smooth, clean coffee that fuels your day without weighing you down. From bold, everyday roasts to brain-boosting mushroom blends and anti-aging formulas, 1775 has the functional coffee option to match whatever mission you're on. Whole bean, grounder pods, your morning just got an upgrade. Go over to 1775coffee.com. Use code Rubin for 15% off your purchase and enjoy some coffee. All right, I love this question. Shelly, can you tell me about tequila? I've never had it. I ordered one of your bottles and was wondering, how do I drink it? I know you said it's a sipping tequila. Should it be room temperature or cold or on ice? Can it be mixed in coffee or anything else? Tequila, coffee, now you're talking. I've never done that. I've never heard of that. I'm going to explore it, and I will get back to you on that. So this is Copal, of course, and as you guys know, we sold out super quick first round. Right now, if you have not been able to get a batch or a bottle, you can go to drinkcopal.com, just put your email there, and when we're able to ship again, I believe at the end of July, we'll make that happen for you. One of the beautiful things we did, as I think you know, is that all of the bottles are unique, the artwork, because we AI printed it, so every single bottle is absolutely unique, which is super cool. It is a reposado, so it is aged 3 months in American whiskey barrels. It's just a beautiful light flavor. I mean, the thing that I like about tequila is, especially reposado, añejo is aged longer and it's a little more whiskey-like because it's going to get more of that flavor from the barrel. I like just something light. So as far as, can you drink it just neat, just a little tequila in a glass? Yeah, I'd swirl it a couple times. There's almost no burn on this. I'm telling you, it is made the right way. It is great. I like it on one rock. Just give me one piece of ice, pour it, swirl it for like 20 seconds, and that's great. But yes, you can make margaritas. We've been making tequila mojitos. That's been a big one around here. Little lime, little mint, little club soda, and it's just beautiful. You said tequila coffee. That is super, super, espresso martini, fancy. You can do a tequila old fashioned. There's all kinds of stuff. So I'm very excited for you guys to try it. And I thank you for trying it before you even tried tequila. That's pretty cool. Minnie says, Dave, who do you think is the weakest link in the Trump administration right now? Well, I guess it would be an offshoot of the earlier question, which is basically, that there's this controversy around Bondi because I think she probably stepped in it a bit in the way that she said she had the files when people, I think, probably looked into what that means more than anything else. So I think at the moment she is, look, everybody else, there's the long list of people, whether it's Marco or Bobby or Tulsi or everyone else that's doing a bang-up job. So it's hard to say, which is a great problem for Trump. All right, one more. Brendan says, where do you think the most underrated spot in Florida is? Ooh. Everybody in Florida focuses on Miami because there's just so much energy here and the city's expanding so much. And, you have the city center of Brickell, and then you have cool places like Coconut Grove and it's got a really beautiful mix of urban and suburban. I'm in more of a suburban area. I don't like being in the cities and the tall buildings, and I like privacy and all that kind of stuff. But it's just booming and there's just restaurants going up and everywhere else. But I would say Southwest Florida is largely ignored. Like, people don't really think about the Naples, Fort Myers. There's a couple of the great islands there that were hit very hard by Hurricane Ian, but are fully coming back. Sanibel and Captiva and Gasparilla Island and a few others. And that's more old Florida. It's just a little slower and calmer, and you're going to eat your grouper and you're going to, have your margarita, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere and you're going to enjoy the day. On that note, because I'm taping 4 shows today, we're obviously doing a lot of stuff for August right now and everything else. So there's not going to be a post-game show today, but I thank you guys for watching. Panel show tomorrow, and that's all that I have to say about that.